Welcome to Blue Seal Talk. We're here today. We're going to discuss many topics, but we're going to start with discussing office space
Yeah.
and when it's appropriate to have office space. This is
Yes.
actually a much more contentious question than you might think.
Yes.
So, Anthony, you had some opinion or the other that I was going to debunk.
Yeah. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a background. So my team came to me saying, hey, I would love an office space. And I agree with them, right? And they gave me two reasons. One is they want to have an area where they can only focus on work and not have distractions. Some people, when they work from home, the cat comes walking, they're like, oh, let me go play with my cat, or the fridge starts making ice and they want to go downstairs and make a drink. It's very easy to get distracted when you're at home. Second thing is we film videos like this, right? Not having to always be on the go and have 30 minutes of setup every time, 30 minutes of taking things down, not having to drive between shoots would save us a lot of time, which in turn would make us more money. So those are two things that people came to me with. What do you think about that first?
An awful lot of what you said makes logical sense but isn't true. We've just been through a period where people did a lot of time working from home through the whole COVID stuff, and we've learned with exclamation points and underscores it doesn't work. It's tremendously inefficient. And yet all of the arguments that you just made about it's easy to get to the workplace because it's in your house, all of those things sound logical, but they turned out to not be true because the cat, the refrigerator, the whatever. So what we have learned and why business has been in a business place for, ever since it's been business, certainly for centuries, is the fact that one, there needs to be a separation between work and home. Two, that has to be true both for the owner, the runner, the person who runs the company, and for the people who work there, probably more for the people who work there. Because when they're going into an office space, they're going into a space that's theirs as well as everybody else's. When they're going into your house, they're going into your house. And that's not theirs. And so there's a feeling of separation back too. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We got real office space from the beginning. We looked at renting an apartment and using that as office space because it's actually cheaper and had more room. It proved to be inefficient. We didn't do it because we could see it was inefficient. First of all, there wasn't enough parking space, something you don't think of when you're looking for a business. Of course there's parking space. Well, there isn't for an apartment building. And so we rejected that right away for that reason. When people started working from home during COVID, efficiency dropped off fairly quickly, and it stayed considerably lower with time. People need not only to go somewhere to give them a sense of separation, but they need to go somewhere where other people that they work with are there, because much more productivity takes place around the water cooler or the equivalent than takes place over Skype or email or texting.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So this is kind of where I stand. I agree with you on an office space makes you more productive. An office space makes things easier. The only thing that's holding me back from buying an office space today is the money.
Yeah.
Right? Office spaces are not cheap. A nice office space where we have what we just talked about. Each person has their own desk, right? And we have a production room, minimum $4,000 a month.
You need to have, at some point, relatively near in the future, everyone in your company that is not doing something remote by nature, everyone in your company needs to have a workspace that is near everybody else in your company. Not necessarily in the same room.
Yes.
I tend to prefer separate rooms for people, but near each other so that someone can get up and go and walk and ask somebody a question. That is much easier. I'm sorry, that's much easier than sending an email.
Yes.
It just is. And there's a reason that business has always done it that way, is because it works.
Yeah.
For me, the expense is important. Obviously, you don't buy what you can't afford. But business expects business expense. That is, of course, a write-off, where your house isn't. Yes, you can probably convince the IRS that the office is a write-off, but then again, if you have a home office, even if you have a business office, you can do the same thing. But the problem is, what are you going to do with 6 people?
Yeah.
You're not going to have them at your house, so you're going to have to get one of that some sort. And the way I see it, you're getting close to that anyway. I mean, you've got you've got Hussein, you've got Theo, you've got,
I've got 6 other people.
yeah.
Yeah, so
And they need a place to go.
Yeah.
That is my argument. Again, this is always limited by the reality of what you can afford.
Yes.
We got an office space right away. We have gotten office space in some rather odd places. Because I was fortunate to be in Silicon Valley, most of our office space to start off with was free. Because they knew it was necessary. But that's an example of our financiers, our investors, knew how important that was.
Yeah.
We weren't going to be successful out of house. That's number one. Number two, so it's your team. Number two is your customers. When we set up Aletheon, we needed to we were having customers in from high-end customers like LVMH and Hermes and things like that, and we were saying we have to not look expensive, but we have to look professional. And driving up to a house is not looking professional. Driving up to a real honest-to-God office building, even if it's only one room in it, yours, looks far more professional. And customers, even if they don't consciously think of that, will know it's the case.
Yeah.
And it's certainly worked for us. So it may be a false economy to talk about keeping a private space any longer than you absolutely must because of finance.
Yeah. And this is my thought process is for 6 months, right? Work on building, because realistically for me to get an office space, make it be like, for me to be able to make that investment every month, I have to double what I'm making right now.
Okay.
So my main concern is over the next 6 months, I have to move out of this place.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to get another place regardless. Now, if I get a new place, it's going to be a little more expensive than what I currently live in because, right now, it goes, it's not big enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough room for what I need.
Right.
So with that, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be about $1,000 more than what I'm paying right now.
Okay.
Which in 6 months from now, I'll be able to afford no problem. But then also, if you add the extra expense of $4,000 of an office, well, now that's a lot more, so I won't be able to afford it with the income the company is generating right now. Now, if the company doubled its revenue, I would be able to afford that no problem. So it's more of like speaking logistically, we already have $4,000 of expenses every month, and that's just reoccurring, not including employee pay. Mm-hmm. So if we had an extra $4,000 plus employee pay, well, now we're almost at double our expenses monthly, and we still have to pay our employees. So I'll probably be making nothing, not even enough to cover my rent. So is it
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. And I was there for a minute. I was like the last 3 to 4 months, I was like not really, like I was putting my rent on my credit card and I was just making sure my employees get paid and the company grows. So now it's like I'm starting to get out of that hole, starting to pay off the credit card debt because it put me in about $13,000 in credit card debt so I can pay my employees. But now that I'm getting out of that, it's like I don't want to go back into that hole, but at the same time, I want to have a good work environment for my employees.
Well, I guarantee you're going to go back into that hole repeatedly before you're really successful. But I understand the goal, and that you're exactly right with the goal. The question comes: are your employees more productive in an office environment? Yes.
Yes.
Are your customers more impressed by an office environment? Yes. Is that enough to make up for the difference in cost? Well, you have to ask yourself, is there anything you're spending money on personally? I don't mean corporately. Personally, you don't have to. I mean that you're you don't need.
As
I will
a-
point out the difference between his car and mine.
Yeah. As of right now, monthly expenses, no. I cut out all the stupid monthly expenses.
Okay, that would be a big help.
I have my monthly expenses go rent, insurance, food. I don't even go out. So
Very smart.
that's
You don't
my
have the
monthly
time to
expenses.
go out anyway.
Yeah, right. I work 15 hours a day, 10 hours a day if it's a good day, and just the gym and even my gym membership is. I canceled my expensive one.
If you picture the way 5 years from now or 3 years from now, you want Brixley Media to be, does it look like a house or does it look like an office?
Oh, it looks like an office. Absolutely. A
Then
really
why take-
big
then
office.
Why take the side trip?
Because if I get an office now, I won't be able to afford my rent.
Well, that's a strong argument.
So I made the joke with them is like, I can get an office, but it will be like, I'll have an inflatable mattress and I'll be living there realistically for 3 to 6 months until it's making more money, which I don't mind doing. I would just prefer not to.
We had to throw some of our developers out. They were doing exactly that in our offices early on. But I said, no. This is not your hotel.
Yeah.
It is obviously a personal decision that you and your team need to make. I cannot tell you whether you have enough money to do one or the other. I would simply say that your goal had better be to look as much like a professional company as possible, because that's the way you'll have a successful company. I'm not saying you're playing smoke and mirrors. I'm saying you'll think of it as a successful company subconsciously.
Yes.
Your employees will think of it as a successful company.
Well, and even
so will
with
your customers.
clients, right, and employees, it's like when I hire a new person, meet me at my office.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot better than let's do a Zoom meeting.
Exactly
right.
right.
Same with clients. Hey, I can meet at the Brixley Media office at 4 p.m. Right? I'll be there. Team will be there. It's a lot more professional.
I look at it when I'm wanting to do an interview with you guys doing the videoing. When I want to do an interview, if it's somebody that I know really well, I don't care.
Yeah.
They'll come wherever I tell them, standing on a street corner in the gutter. But if it's someone that I've been introduced to through another party, I want to take them to an office.
Yeah.
I want them to see this as, because I want them when they're talking to think like they're talking in a professional environment.
Yeah.
Not an overwhelming one, not an overbearing one, but a professional one.
Okay.
So
Well,
your customers want to look professional too.
I'm getting an office next month, Dave. That's
Well,
as
no.
long as I can keep it under
As
2,000.
I said, watch your expenses. There are rental offices that are small places. You can always expand from them.
Yeah.
But I would look at it, if you can possibly do it, afford an office, but don't bankrupt the company doing it.
Yeah. So my brain was thinking this. My office, my team needs a working environment and they need a filming environment.
Yes.
Realistically, I can get an office in 6 months based on the way things are growing, comfortably. So, and then also I have to move out of this apartment in 2 months. So what I'm thinking is, well, hey, if I get a house, whether I'm renting it or I buy it or anything, I can make that. The house I look at will be very much work focused. So my team wants an office space. Realistically, not the whole team will be there. It will only be 2 people out of the team. The rest will remain on Zoom until the 6 months goes by, the company is making more money and we can get an office space.
I would certainly strongly suggest that as soon as you can, you have everybody in one roof.
Yes.
Under one roof, unless somebody's in London or something, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And so like over the next 6 months, right? 2 months from now, it would be, so we would have 4 months till that timeline. 2 months from now, it would be getting a house, whether it's rented or bought or whatever, and it would have 3 stories, right? Or 3 separate areas where one area is strictly, office space, video production space, and that's it. Just that area. And it's completely closed off from the rest of the house. We would hold on to that for 4 months, and then we would get, I would be able to see numbers like, hey, it's more those two people that are really important to the company and making it grow can actually, like, they're more productive when they're in an office setting. So then now I'm like, okay, they're more productive in an office setting because now I know it's like, okay, well, now it's actually really worth it. And then 4 months from now or 6 months from now, I'll be making a lot more money. So now I'm like, okay, now I'm making more money, or the company's making more money. Now they've showed me that they can be more productive in an office setting. So let me do it.
So I will summarize this by saying everything is open, everything is possible, but the goal is a professional looking company that feels that way to you, that feels that way to your employees, and that feels that way to your customers. That must always be kept in mind.
Well, I'm definitely going to be getting an office after this good discussion. I've been the one to believe that working from home is nice, it's convenient, but after doing that and working with people that have done that and our conversation, I realized that having an office space is more professional for your employees, for your business, for your customers, for anything to make a business more official. If you truly believe in your business, you will go out and you'll buy an office. If you don't, you won't. So that's a big thing. So thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.